Hi and welcome. So today I wanted to share with you a little bit more about emotional eating and the shame spiral. So if you're new here, welcome. My name is Michelle. I'm a certified holistic nutritionist specializing in emotional eating. And I wanted to talk about this because this is really important that we talk about how we feel when we're in this pattern. Sometimes we just put it to the side and it keeps festering under the surface. And it's important that we acknowledge how we're actually feeling. And so the shame we feel from emotional eating, most of the time what I hear from women is that they feel shame that they're emotionally eating. They feel so much shame around their behavior. They're hiding, they're eating after everyone goes to bed, when they're alone in their car. It's this compulsive behavior. And so there's a lot of shame around not being able to control it, feeling out of control. And so what I want to say is that that's the shame we're seeing on the surface. Emotional eating is a multi-layered pattern and there are different layers happening. But what we're seeing on the surface is this behavior that's not making us feel good. And what happens when we emotionally eat, we feel shame. And then that shame triggers more emotional eating and we're in this cycle. And so round and round it goes. So what I want to say, and just to share again and reiterate, emotional eating is a coping mechanism. It's when we use food to soothe ourselves from any discomfort, any uncomfortable emotions, any sort of stress. And so shame is one of those things we would emotionally eat for. Just like we're using it when we feel shame for our behavior, we're in that cycle. But this pattern usually develops in childhood. And it's usually when we didn't have our parents or caregivers, if our parents or caregivers didn't model to us or help us move through our uncomfortable emotions or stressors, we were left with this sort of discomfort. And so we might have been told we shouldn't feel a certain way. We weren't regulated. We weren't seen or heard or validated in our emotions. We felt a lot of rejection around them. We felt something was wrong with us. Maybe we felt we were too sensitive. And so it can be very small. When you're a child, you're very sensitive, and these little things that maybe an adult would say is a little thing, it's a bigger issue. And we internalize that. And as children, we don't want to make our parents upset with us or dislike us or not love us. So we keep those emotions in. That discomfort stays with us and we do whatever we can to just appear the way we're meant to. So we start contorting ourselves. But that uncomfortable emotion, that discomfort, that stress, it lives in us. And so we have to figure out ways to manage it. So coping is managing our stress. It's not resolving it. And so this is when we felt we had no control. So we started using food to soothe ourselves from those uncomfortable emotions, which shame might be one of them. And so that's how we go towards food to soothe ourselves. And then now as an adult, when we emotionally eat, we feel shame for the actual action that we're using to cover up the shame that we're feeling. So you see how this can become really multi-layered. So as we're using food to soothe ourselves, what happens, what I see with women is that eventually they start feeling out of control with food. They forget, they don't connect why they're emotionally eating. And over time it becomes, they feel really out of control and they need to control themselves. So the shame around this behavior, we do anything to control that shame. So we're now going to diets and these different things, surgeries, whatever, to control us because we're really looking for that acceptance. So we numb out those feelings or we're looking for a way to be accepted. So if we eat a certain way, we look a certain way, we're accepted. And we're trying to control ourselves so we're accepted. There's this deeper need. And so when we can't do that, the shame is then still building. And so we can see we need to work on this on a few layers. And so what happens in our society is that the way you're trying to nourish yourself or eat or move your body or connect with your body is really unhealthy. So most of the times when we're going towards diets, they're not connected to who we are. They're a mechanism to control our body, restrict calories so we get to a certain size. And then we push our bodies, let's say at the gym, or we don't honor our bodies, whether we're an over-exerciser or not, but we don't honor our bodies. And because we're not honoring our bodies and we're pushing it to try to look a certain way, that's also triggering our emotional eating and our shame, because when we can't willpower our way into the diet or the body, we feel something's even more wrong with us. So we failed again at another diet. We failed again at another exercise program or trying to be healthy, not realizing that those kind of conventional things are set up to not help you in your body. Plus, you have this emotional eating pattern, which is going to keep derailing you. So you already have these sort of unhealthy ways of being with food, being with your body, and now with your emotions. And so the shame keeps building up because it seems like everything you do, you're still spiraled into your emotional eating. You feel that shame. And so we need to go layer by layer. And so how do we resolve this pattern? So this was the same thing for me. This is why, I share about my own journey. These are the same steps I went through. I had this coping mechanism that I wasn't aware of. I had this relationship to food and my body that I thought I needed to change because I needed to control my body, because now my emotional eating and the way I was nourishing my body, my stressors, all of that were out of control. And so what happens is that the first step is really understanding you have this emotional eating pattern, that you feel a lot of shame around it, and then getting help, getting support, whether that's understanding the pattern more, actually doing the deeper work. We need to really start shifting this, because a lot of clients that come to me, they are hiding and emotionally eating. They are, they're doing it when they're alone. No one knows they're suffering. They're feeling this way internally. And so there's nothing that can be done. And when you think something's wrong with you and you're broken and you need to be fixed, you go and find solutions that tell you you're broken and need to be fixed. What we need is to understand this pattern. And, when we try the surface solutions like the diets and the exercise or the pills or the surgeries or the therapy, and here when I say talk therapy, I was in talk therapy for 2 years. I gained a lot of awareness. I didn't know I was an emotional eater. But I gained awareness about patterns and how they developed. And, a lot of the times what I hear from clients is that they go to therapy and they're kind of aware there's something with their childhood. But I just want to say we can really pinpoint what this pattern is coming from, and we can really get into the root and really close to it, and it's really powerful. And so that's a part of what we do inside of the Emotional Eating Evolution program. So in order to resolve this pattern, we need to get into those deeper roots, but we also need to shift our relationship to food, our body, and our emotions. So what's happening inside of the Emotional Eating Evolution program is that we're creating a new way of being with food, our body, and our emotions that is in alignment for us, that is in a healthy way for us, that we didn't learn because we've been taught how to control and manipulate our body to, we've been coping with our emotions. And we go from, and those are all ways of surviving, thinking where something's wrong with us, we're broken, we need to be fixed, to a way where we are nourishing ourselves, we are accepting our bodies, and we are moving through our emotions. And this puts us into thriving. And what this does is when we're in survival mode, our nervous system is in fight or flight. When we shift to thriving, we are in rest and digest. In this other nervous system, that's where our body can actually start to heal itself. It will actually have what we're cultivating here is this healthy relationship to food, our body, and our emotions. We're no longer using food to soothe. This will help our nervous system and our body start regulating, coming back to a state of calm. And this is where our stress is reduced. We start having better digestion. We feel more at ease in our body. We're going to release whatever weight has been put on us, because in a state of stress, we hold on to weight. There's higher cortisol. And this is why I say weight is just a symptom of our emotional eating. We need to really be shifting our pattern around these areas. And this is where we feel more empowered. We have more boundaries. We understand ourselves more. And this is how we start moving away from shame. So once we connect back to food in this healthier way, we no longer shame ourselves when we restrict or we need to eat more. We start noticing our emotional hunger versus our true hunger. We're just more tuned in, and we start understanding why we've been emotionally eating and binging, and how diets and this restriction mentality is creating that. We also start connecting back to our body. And so we start seeing how when we're pushing and punishing our body, overexerting exerting ourselves. We're not honoring our body. We're not accepting our body. We're trying to derive our worth from our body. And when we come back into balance and we are accepting of our body, this relaxes our nervous system. We're actually going to see more results from different types of movement. We're going to just feel better in our body. We won't be emotionally eating, which will eliminate sort of this, this pattern of using food to soothe and numb and be in this survival mode. And in the third area, we're really looking at those emotions under our emotional eating pattern, those unresolved events for us that created this pattern that left us feeling this discomfort. We're going back and we are working with that, integrating it, and really resolving it at this deep level in the body so that we can move forward powerfully in a way that honors our true needs. When we have all of these pieces aligned, we are shifting and we're going to start feeling at ease, free and confident in our body and around food. We're going to start noticing our body start just feeling good. We're going to understand that we don't need to chase something to look a certain way. And this is where the funny thing happens. Paradoxically, our body starts moving into its healthy. So in a stress state, our body looks like it's going to have digestive issues. It's going to have inflammatory conditions. We're going to have weight gain. We're going to have a chronic stress. But in a body that is calmer and in a rest and digest nervous system, those things shift. We start having better digestion, more energy. We start feeling more confidence. We start feeling more at ease, more energy, and our body will start releasing whatever weight it doesn't need because we're shifting into our healthy. And so this is not about vanity and what you look like. It's just a natural byproduct of being in a stress state, as our body is going to be operating like it's in a stress state. It's going to be imbalanced. And when we shift to it being in a rest and digest state, in a thriving state, it's going to shift. And we're going to start seeing from the inside out, we're going to feel from the inside out that shift of what it looks like. And I'm not saying you're going to see this overnight. We need to move through this first layer of rebalancing before we start seeing those other noticeable outside shifts. But this is a sustainable way of really moving through your emotional eating. And this is what I saw when I was on this journey. It took me many years to figure this out, but my body started to shift when I was just honoring the food choices I was making. I was really getting into accepting my body and moving through those uncomfortable emotions that would pop up and make me emotionally eat. So I was creating this new structure for myself around what healthy looks like in terms of nourishment, in terms of body movement, in terms of emotional wellness. And that's what really resolves your emotional eating long term. And that's what disintegrates and integrates that shame so you no longer feel it, because you start really understanding yourself. You have deep compassion for yourself and you're making the changes that you need to make in a sustainable way to get that result. So if you are interested in shifting your emotional eating to resolving it so you can finally feel confident in your body and around food, I'd love to invite you to find out more about the Emotional Eating Evolution Program. This is a step-by-step methodology with lots of support and guidance, coaching, meditations to get into the roots, to shift you from that survival mode to thriving and resolving your emotional eating so you can finally feel confident in your body and around food. If you're interested in that, I'll put the link below. Also, if you're ready to resolve your emotional eating, you can also book in an emotional eating clarity call. On the call, we find out more about you, what your goals are, what your struggles are, and how we can support you in the program to meet those sort of end results. So thank you so much for watching. Please be sure to like and subscribe, and I look forward to sharing more with you, and I hope you have a great day.